All right, picking up some good vibrations. According to a new Fox News poll, a majority of Americans are feeling good about 2014. But what economic threats are on the horizon in the new year? Let's bring in today's panel. Pete Hegseth, CEO of Concerned Veterans for America. He's also a Fox News contributor, along with Jack Howe from Barron's and Simon Constable from the Wall Street Journal. Let me start with you, Pete. I mean, the poll actually says that for was this a good year for your family? And 57% said yes, and that's the highest number going back to 2009.
Well, it's good to hear. It's a bit surprising, frankly, because I think a lot of the supposed recovery that's occurred hasn't hit middle America but there are some looming threats, as you addressed. Interest rates have to go up at some point. The economy's addicted to them. You've got a debt ceiling fight coming up in March. Where's that going to go with a new emboldened Republican Congress? A lot of uncertainty potentially.
I'll tell you where it's going to go. Jack, what's going to happen with I mean, we've got the debt ceiling problem in March. Oil will go back up eventually in price. Could it happen before March?
Oil can go back up a little. I don't think it's going to go anywhere near where it was. I do think this looming Fed rate hike is going to be less of an exciting event than investors think.
It's going to be a minimal hike if they do it.
The Fed is going to be very careful with the dollar this strong and with overseas markets this week. They don't want to break anything. That's the key. Don't break anything.
And the market's already priced it in. But Simon, let's talk about something everyone can relate to: housing. The price of housing is actually accelerating at a slower pace, and we're getting ready to lower the standards.
It is still going up.
It's still going up. Yeah. But we're lowering the standards by which we're going to lend to people.
What could possibly go wrong?
What could
never
go
been
wrong?
done before. What could possibly go wrong? I mean, that just seems silly. I mean, one of the things that will keep house prices down is having tight lending standards, and then fewer people will buy it, and it'll keep the price low, and people will be encouraged to save.
Okay, so but then you don't get the inflation that the Federal Reserve wants.
Yes, I know you don't get that, but you don't get the banking system going under either.
Okay, but how much Mitch McConnell said that they're not going to shut down the government. So is the debt ceiling issue really an issue or not, Simon?
I think it's a bit of a faux issue. There is no way the U.S. will not pay its debts. I mean, it would be ridiculous. This is it would be like not a real country if it didn't pay its debts. That would be very bad.
All right, because there's nothing more boring than the debt ceiling. We're going to drop the debt ceiling and move to something quite interesting, the Sony Hack, right? There's a new report which is pointing to an inside job at Sony. Security firm Norse believes it's uncovered evidence on 6 individuals involved in the hack attack, including one former employee. Pete, I'm going to go to you, not because Norse and Nordic and Minnesota, which is where you're from.
That would work.
But what do you think? Could this have been an inside job? They said that there was always the suspicion someone on the inside might have been helping the evil North Koreans.
Sure. Yeah, a couple things surprised me on this. How quickly we came out and deemed it was North Korea, which is not indicative of the way this administration usually handles things. Slow, deliberate. We're not sure who it is. We're not going to. They pointed the finger very quickly. They needed that culprit. And then also there was a sense of, is North Korea capable of this type of a scale attack without either inside.
Their internet runs on a chimpanzee pedaling a bicycle. So no.
Right. A 12-year-old in Silicon Valley shut them down last week.
They've seen there's been evidence of a native Russian writer playing a part in this, not just a Korean writer. And at home, when anything goes wrong with the internet, I like to blame Russia first before I even know the facts. So I'm totally satisfied with that term.
Do you believe the FBI? Because the FBI said, look, we see a pattern in the software that indicates previous attacks that have been launched by North Korea. We know about the North Korean attacks on the banking system in South Korea. Do you trust the FBI?
I trust the FBI, but I'll be very interested at a later time when the evidence is laid out in full. I mean, it's very hard to track the trail of actions on the internet. That's why people keep their pornography there. I mean, you can't figure out what's going on.
It's because it's free. It's free.
So, look, maybe it was someone inside the company who was from the marketing department who refused to try and market this movie because it was so bad. Maybe that's why. And they went out and said,
All right. Okay, from North Korea to the FAA, not so much a dictatorship, perhaps. The not-so rise of the machines. The FAA is actually on track to miss. Imagine a government agency missing its own self-imposed deadline on drone regulation. That means the ban on commercial drones will stay in place for the time being. And Simon, I got to ask you, I mean, U.S. business which would use commercial drones. I mean, one estimate, this is according to the Association for Unmanned Vehicle Systems International, says we're losing $10 billion a year in economic activity because the FAA is dragging its feet on drones. You buy that number and do you care?
Yeah, 10 billion, 100 billion, 2 billion. Who knows what that number is? That number is, I think they've just put their finger in the air and sort of come up with that. I mean, yes, some economic activity is certainly lost there, but also economic activity is lost when you have these things flying up near JFK or LaGuardia and everyone freaks out. So there's got to be some guys at the FAA.
Jack, we hear about these drones. People do get injured. One of them fell into what is
it's much more important for them to get the rules right. That said, they missed the deadline this year. We're just hearing about it. Now they need another couple of years. I mean, that's really missing a deadline.
Now they want to go to 2017. By then, the technology will outpace the regulations they set in 2015. Well, I mean, they're going to play catch-up continually.
There's definitely a role for drone technology. I mean, out in the croplands, where people want to look at fields and that stuff. But in the city, I mean, this idea that Google will deliver packages in large metropolitan areas, I mean, the liability alone, if the thing should fall and hit someone on the head, the lawsuit alone is going to prohibit this, isn't it?
It would, yes. But I'm very tempted by this idea that in 30 minutes I could order something on Amazon, it would arrive. But then you think about millions of buzzing machines above you, and it makes a little bit less sense. I don't want to be the regulator.
Now they had same-day delivery this year. It's already here with good old-fashioned V8 engines.
Don't order anvils or pianos.
Can it deliver halfway of the building if you need, drink refill or something? That'll be good. It goes straight in through the window.
That'll be once the computers take over, but we have to move on. Extending their run, Hillary Clinton and President Obama are once again topping Gallup's list of the most admired people in the world. Simon, I know that who's your favorite among them?
He voted 3 times.
I would have done. My favorite on this was actually Pope Francis. I was surprised that Obama was
Catholics
3 times.
love this Pope.
3 times, and actually non-Catholics too, like me. But the surprising thing is down the bottom, which would make a great dinner party. Bill O'Reilly, Benjamin Netanyahu, Vladimir Putin. Those 3 together at a dinner party would be fantastic.
By the way, is my dream golf foursome, me and those guys.
Jack, explain to me, how does Hillary Clinton beat out people like Oprah Winfrey? I mean, 13 years in a row, and also, I'm going to mispronounce her name. Please correct me if I get it wrong. But Malala Yousafzai, the Pakistani activist, the young girl who was shot and survived by the Taliban. How does Clinton beat someone like that?
It's like you're suggesting to me that Hillary Clinton is not lovable, Adam. I mean...
Oh, no, I'm not saying... Listen, I think there's a lot of admirable qualities about Hillary Clinton, but these are people,
I think when you poll a lot of people on this list, it's like asking who's the most famous person on this list. I think people just kind of check the box they know.
It's a name ID thing. And she got 12%, so it's not like there was a wave of people cheering for Hillary Clinton. 12% couldn't think of somebody, and they admire her, and they know who she is. It's a name ID game.
I wonder if they know who Ben Bernanke is, because, tell us how you really feel, the former Fed chair, Ben Bernanke, admits, and this is a quote, "Meetings involving central bankers get a lot of attention, though most of them are deadly boring." Expletive removed. He said that, not us. So, well,
it's
Jack,
like he's trying to hide something.
I mean,
I feel like they're breaking out the whiskey, they're hacking Sony. I don't know what's going on.
Jack has got a reputation, let me tell you. She's a party animal. But does anyone care if the Federal Reserve meeting is boring? If
no, I think boring is probably good. But I can't think of anything more boring. Like my 9th ring of hell would be continual Fed meetings, time and time again. Numbers, stats, this, bulls, bears.
I would actually be really worried if it was exciting.
Well, he said that it was exciting when Lehman Brothers collapsed, and then they had the meeting in October, and the world was coming to an end. But at the end of the day, the Federal Reserve bank presidents come and go, the chairman comes and goes, but it's the bureaucracy. It's the people who've been there for 30-plus years who write the reports, who influence the policy, right?
Yeah, they influence the policy a lot under the direction of the people on that board. I mean, think about this, though. What crime have they committed to be, working in that bureaucracy for 20, 30 years and having to write those reports that are pretty dull.
That only you and I have to read.
Especially with rates set to rise for the first time since 2008. You don't want them flying by the seat of their pants there.
Or by drone. God forbid those rates should be driven by a drone. All right, guys, thank you very much. We're going to have more of this a little bit later on, but the search for a missing airplane.